Well, thank you, Mary Lou. Can I say, first of all, thanks to everybody for being here. Obviously, this has been another important chapter in my life, which goes back in terms of Irish republicanism to the streets of Derry when I was 20 years of age, which is something like 41 years ago now. And the decision to stand was obviously a big decision for me because I was in an important job in the North, effectively joint First Minister alongside Peter Robinson for 4 years and facing into another term of the Assembly. There were two big decisions I had to make. Was first of all whether or not my family were comfortable with me doing this. They've always been hugely supportive and they declared their support unambiguously. And then the other decision was leaving the institutions and being satisfied that we had people there who were well capable of continuing to build important working relationships with our unionist counterparts. So once I decided to take the plunge, as I do in any job I undertake, I throw myself wholeheartedly into it. So I've been travelling the length and breadth of the country in this campaign. And I have to say the reception on the ground has been absolutely fantastic. You know, okay, Mary Lou speaks about the reaction of the media and some elements within the political establishment, but you know, all of the reports suggest that up until my candidature was announced that it was a fairly dull presidential election campaign, and everybody's now saying that our presence has electrified it. And I ask myself, well, how has our involvement in the campaign electrified? It has electrified it because it has scared the living daylights out of the establishment and those who have vested interests. And when I took a decision to stand, I took a decision because I thought this presented a real opportunity to provide a real alternative to the establishment as someone who is going forward with a very clear platform of standing with ordinary people at a time of economic hardship and distress. And one of the first decisions I made was, my assembly salary, my ministerial salary in the North when I was a minister went directly to Sinn Féin, and I was then paid a subsistence out of that, and the rest of the money was used to build Sinn Féin as a political party, which I was very content with. So the guy that drove me to my work every morning in Belfast, to meet Peter Robinson, was paid exactly the same as me, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. So the first decision I took when I was asked to stand for this position was that none of the ministerial salary would go to any political party because the president has to be above all of that, but that the vast bulk of the presidential salary would go back to the people of Ireland. And we spoke to the campaign team about how we could do that, and one of the issues I asked them to explore was that we could bring 6 young people who are unemployed on the dole, off the dole queue, and into full-time employment, and pay for that out of the presidential salary. I wasn't even interested in taking the average weekly wage. The average wage, which is considerably less than the average weekly wage, I am quite content to live with. I'm not a greedy person, I'm not a selfish person. I've given all of my life to the struggle against injustice and inequality, and indeed British rule. So I live for the struggle, and to the day I die, I will be a Republican who isn't in it for self-aggrandisement. So that was a gesture, but the purpose of suggesting that in terms of the salary was to put it up to the selfish and the greedy, those people who had effectively run the economy into the ground in the course of recent times, the people who paid themselves fat salaries, fat bonuses and fat pensions. When I look at the sums of money that some of the former government ministers walked away from, with something in the region of 380,000 euros, and then I look at North Inner City Dublin and volunteer workers taking young people in boxing clubs and other taking young people making pottery for absolutely nothing. I see the two sides of Ireland, and it has inequality riddled right through it. Now, there has to be a big debate around that about what sort of Ireland we want, and I wanted to be someone who was clearly seen to be genuine and sincere and prepared to stand alongside those people who had to face mass immigration, who had to face mass unemployment, who found it difficult to pay their mortgages, and indeed found it difficult to heat their houses or feed their children. So I have no difficulty whatsoever in making it clear that the issue about the salary is effectively to put it up to all of those selfish people within society who think that the whole world revolves around them. Effectively the elite who controlled this country for far too long. And that's why the media and some elements have reacted against my candidacy. They've made a fool of themselves in some instances. For example, the Sunday Independent article of a week ago, whenever a government minister effectively said that if I was President of Ireland, it would be a disincentive for foreign companies coming to invest in Ireland. It betrayed an awful ignorance on their part, because on the very day that my candidature was announced, I was sitting in Wall Street talking to the New York Stock Exchange senior executives, who we had previously negotiated with 2 years before, 500 jobs coming to the north. And that happened, the announcement was made 18 months ago. We believe we should make jobs and get the economy back on track the cornerstone of my presidency. And that would be the major emphasis as we go forward. The next issue that we want to deal with is the whole issue of a decade of a period of national reconciliation. And I think that is badly needed, particularly as we are, I think, making huge progress vis-a-vis the North-South Ministerial Council and the willingness of people like Peter Robinson and other DUP ministers to engage with their counterparts here in the South. And also in terms of the hurt that there has been as a result of the conflict. You know, I said in Derry when I went to Free Derry Corner on the beginning of this tour around the island of Ireland, that my heart went out to everybody that suffered as a result of the conflict, no matter where they were or where they came from. And I included in that the families of British soldiers and those who had lost loved ones. When I walked down from my house to Free Derry Corner, there was something like 2,000 people standing there just over 2 weeks ago. I was accompanied by people who had lost loved ones as a result of the actions of the British Army. The Bloody Sunday families, for example, were there. But I was also accompanied by people who lost loved ones as a result of actions carried out by the IRA. And that was the greatest honour and tribute that could be paid to me, because they were clearly nailing their colours to the mast, that they saw me as someone who, along with others, was instrumental in bringing about a transformation in politics in the North, and one of the most successful peace processes in the world today. So your role in all of this is of critical importance as we go forward. I mean, this is a big challenge for all of us, and there's no doubt whatsoever that we are getting a very, very good response on the ground, whatever how the media try to interpret it. But if you look at the crowds that turned out, we went to Sligo, 500 people in the local hotel. Dublin, the Rotunda was packed. We went to County Tyrone, to Omagh, because in spite of what some people might say, Tyrone is as much a part of Ireland as Cork or Kerry. And there were 500 people in the local newly built theatre, the Stroll Arts Centre, and 300 people couldn't get in. And the same in Letterkenny, the same in Monaghan, huge crowds, well over 500 at the hotel meetings at night. And that clearly shows that there is a mood for us, which is even bigger than the result that we got in the general election. And you can see it going around as we did in Galway the other day, in Ballinasloe, you know, people rushing across the street. You just sense that there's something important happening out there. So what we need you to do is be part of all of that, and I know many of you have been working over the course of the last while in the campaign. But the next 2 weeks requires all of us to put extra energy in, and collectively, if we do that, if we work hard, then I think we get a result which will surprise many of our political opponents. And we'll put down a very important marker for the future. If I am elected as a new President of Ireland, then that's a position that we can use to further ensure that we have an Ireland that is going back to core values, to compassion, to recognising that we have got a huge responsibility to the most marginalised and disadvantaged within society. I was asked by an American TV crew what would I do in the first 100 days, and I said, well, in this campaign I've committed myself to travel to every one of Ireland's 32 counties. Symbolically, that's very, even though I would be elected President of this state, I think it is important to recognise that all over Ireland's 32 counties there are people who will recognise me as a President of Ireland. I also said I would open Áras an Uachtaráin on Christmas Day so that the homeless could come and be fed there. I don't think it has ever happened before. So I want to see an Áras an Uachtaráin that's open to everybody and have more people through the door than any previous president, but certainly with an emphasis on those who have suffered as a result of the economic downturn. So that's it. We're dependent on you. You are very young people, you're very vibrant, and you're obviously swimming in a sea of others who are talking about where things are at the moment, whether it be people who are taking the immigrant boat to New Zealand or to Australia or the United States of America, people who are finding it very difficult to meet the ends meet. This is a real opportunity for all of them to make a statement and to take a stand, and I'm asking them to stand with me as I am prepared to stand with them as we put it up to the selfish and the greedy and the corrupt who effectively destroyed the Irish economy over the course of recent times. So thanks for being here, and thanks for agreeing to undertake this work over the next number of weeks. At the end of it, I am very strongly of the view that we'll be well satisfied with the outcome. For Mila Mayakov.
Put people off voting, young people especially, is there hasn't been inclusive presidents, there hasn't really been inclusive candidates up until this point, until Martin McGuinness came on the field. And today it's been an absolute inspiration because he's talking about an inclusive, open presidency, a transparent presidency that's opening up Áras an Uachtaráin. He's opening up himself to us. I think that's encouraging. So I came here today because he invited us here today to listen to us and to talk to us, which never happens with any presidential candidates. Usually we're talked down to, we're told what to do, and even we have to look at the example that the election is going to be on a Thursday. That's putting young people right off. It cuts people out of voting and exercising their right to vote. So today the fact that Martin McGuinness invited young people here, scores of young people, to talk to us, to find out what the issues are with young people and to highlight his policies, I think it's important, and it really does highlight what he can do in the presidency.
Well, I think it's important to attend because, politics is often, young people complain that politics isn't about us, but if you don't show up, if you don't make your voice heard, then there's no point. And Martin McGuinness is a candidate about equality, and that's everything from gender equality to young people in society and the decisions that we want people to take. So, Honnig Main Seo Niu mar sé an tábhachtach a Gordini Oga chuna a go a Curramachan sin agus be ports na glúiseach difriúla bhfuil timpeall agus is duine bhfuil a seasamh go comhairle bheith Martin McGuinness agus sé i Gordini Oga gur na bán sa Sochaí agus gach duine ag seasamh suas le chéile agus sin an tábhachtach ná atá nuam.
Yeah, I just wanted to see what Martin McGuinness had to say. He seems to be getting a great reception around the country, and it's a great chance to see him in person and just to hear his idea of what the presidency is for. That he's representing everyone in Ireland. It's not just a party political thing. So he's given the money back to his extra income, not directly to the party, but to support 6 unemployed people, get them back into work. So just to set an example, leadership for the whole country, especially to the elite, the people who've been protected in the economic crisis, that the top office in the land, set an example for equality and just a selflessness for the country. So hopefully he'll win. He's doing well in the opinion polls, and everyone who hears him speak is energised by what he has to say. So in the next couple of weeks we'll get everyone to hear him hopefully and win the election.